Just wanted to give you a quick tour of my my chip boiler. In here I have my my chip bin. I've been chipping in here off my chipper, and I'm lucky enough the chipper blows it in, so it's actually stacking it from the back to the front. I made a big opening here I could dump in with a skid steer, and then I'll turn the chipper once this side is full to do that side. You can see over here that hole, because that's where it's augering it in and it's allowed it to slop in. So I can fill this bin. I'm not too sure how long it'll last me. I'm suspecting I'll get a season roughly out of it with that completely full of chips. Right now the boiler is on startup, so we can have a look here to see. We'll go through tank temperatures and what have you. But as you can see on startup, kind of a cloudy day, but it's hard to see. There's hardly any smoke coming out at low temps, as it's gasifying pretty good. I got to button up this shed, finish it up, put siding on, finished burial. The line goes underneath the ground to the house. We'll go on inside, take a look at the meat and potatoes. Now that the boiler guys are done in here, I can finish the shed. So right now the fire is operating at 100% capacity. The flue gases are 87 degrees. The boiler temperature is 65, and my tank is at 60. That's referring to the temps of this 2,000 liter tank. So that's the bottom of the tank and the top of the tank. So I think the igniter just actually turned off. That means the fire is sustained. These motors are slowly turning and bringing in chips and the fuel that I have in there. So it's slowly augering that in. And as this turns, it's bringing it through the wall on the other side. This is the side that's right full to the top of chips. And it's spinning in there, bringing it in. This is totally automated. There's the water going, hot water going to the house and from the house. It comes from the header on this far wall. This is the end of the tank. The cold water coming out of the tank, going back into my boiler, and then back into the tank. So it's just operating now, running at full tilt. Gases are at 97 degrees Celsius. They usually get around 120 C. I don't see much higher temp than 120 C at the back of the boiler where it's exiting out, which means our water is absorbing as much as it can, and already the boiler water is up to 66. It'll heat this tank up to 80, and then it'll cycle off. That's my header there. Now that you can see I got the house coming off. It's very simple. There's a circulation pump, and I can plumb more in. I can build the header as long as I want, take as many buildings or as many runs off as I need. That's the meat and potatoes. Let's just have a look in here to see what it looks like in full operation. I can't hold it open too long. It'll lose the pressure. The pressure switch will trip the boiler off. Oh yeah, and our gases are at 103 already. Completely smokeless. Fire's running full tilt. Now I can finish buttoning up this shed, insulating it, trimming it all up, put insulation in the roof before winter flies. Now that the guys are done putting the system together, we'll go look at the house side. It's been a pretty busy fall between working in the mountains and being away and trying to get everything done before the snow flies. I've got to finish burying the trench on this end. and on this end. So this goes underneath the house to a tank at the other end. I haven't finished burying this in. I ran out of sand to bed the pipe. But as you can see, it goes underneath. I need to get more sand, no problem. We're just gonna head around the corner. I got some rain last night, so the other day finally had this tank kind of on standby. I could trip it and flood the water in the yard. But I'm buttoning up the skirting today, making a solar heating panel to cover this up. But that hot water from that boiler comes into this guy here. Comes in on those two pipes and then exchanges into this tank. I think this one is, don't quote me, I think it was 200 liters, but I don't remember exactly. So that hot water comes on the other side of the house, comes underneath the skirting all the way to here, and circulates and keeps this tank hot. Those two lines are my lines for the domestic hot water. With that boiler system now, we have basically on-demand hot water, and it's working really well. We can have an endless shower or run a hot tub or whatever off that line. And then from there, I splice it all into rads. And then through the rad, I've returned it through the floor, especially in the doorway. You won't be able to see it, but it goes through the rad and then through the joists to heat anywhere I have tile. I didn't want to do it where the hardwood was, so I'm afraid that it would shrink it. But this is another thermal mass, so I think I have a total of, it's got to be at least 2,200 liters at any given time. They're sitting between 60 and 80 degrees. And that allows the fire not to cycle as hard and as much. So that boiler's running once every 24 hours for about an hour a day right now. And we've been sitting at night getting close to zero, during the day maybe 10, 15 degrees. That'll change also when I got this buttoned up. We had to pull that out to get this tank in. I had to get the rain tanks in, and I'm starting to button up the house. And another job would be is to get the insulation around the skirting a lot better. But at the moment, the house has been sitting at a cool 20 degrees, 20, 21, and our master bath has never been so warm, and the water has never been so warm and steady before we had propane. So we got that totally off. I turned the on-demand heater off that was under here. The only propane we're using now is for the cook stove for cooking. Other than that, the furnace is now, propane furnace is back up, and the on-demand heater is back up. All we need to do is turn it on, but we don't need it with the way the boiler's been running. It's been running since the middle of July. I'm just doing all the tidy up work from the guys, but we had it going before I left to go to the hills. So I got a bit of cleanup to do. Finish framing in this box, make a solar air heater, and I'm going to insulate that, and that'll heat up the air in that box, circulate it underneath the house on the warm spring and fall days. I will vent it out the side of the box for the hot summer, so when the sun hits it, heat will rise, it'll vent out to the atmosphere, to the outside of the building, and that'll allow suction to pull fresh air underneath the building all summer long. I hope that works. I don't know if it's going to be good. I could do makeup air maybe with an in-ground tube going all the way underneath, and then the warm air could come underneath, get tempered, bring underneath the building through the solar heater and vent it out is one idea I have. But until then, just manually close that vent and allow it to just naturally cycle. As the air warms, it'll pull cool air in, and the warm air will cycle back into underneath the building and keep it warmer. This is my idea. I'll throw a video on that when I'm done. But not to get distracted from the boiler install, but in a nutshell, the boiler heats the water, that augers those chips in, burns it very, very efficiently, absorbs all the heat, pumps as much heat when that fire is hot and fast and going hard into the tank as possible. It cycles off, it stays off for 12 to 24 hours. Meanwhile, we live on the mass of the two tanks being cycled. And then when we call for heat, once those tanks get drawn down around 60 degrees, the boiler fires back up. It continues on augering more feed in, more chips in, and heats it back up to 80, cycles off, and life goes on. We sometimes we barely forget that it's even there because it's just automated. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll hope to see everybody at the next design clinic. Talk to you soon.